Today, we have an incredible episode lined up for you. I'm sitting down with seasoned entrepreneur Michelle Kuzmick, whose passion lies in empowering women to turn their dreams into thriving businesses. With over 2 decades of experience from our early days as a photographer to her current role as an online business strategist, Kajabi expert, brand and website designer, and executive editor of She's Making Her Way magazine, Michelle has navigated the ups and downs of entrepreneurship firsthand. In this episode, Michelle gets candid about balancing business with family, knowing when it's time to pivot, and overcoming the challenges that every entrepreneur faces. Whether you're just starting or looking to refine your business, you'll walk away with actionable insights and a renewed sense of purpose. Welcome to the E-commerce Made Easy podcast. I'm your host, Carrie Saunders. When we started this business, all I had was a couch, a laptop, and a 9-month-old. My main goal? To help others. Now, with over 20 years in the e-commerce building industry and even more than that in web development, I have seen a lot. I love breaking down the hard tech into easily understandable bits to help others be successful in their online business. Whether you're a seasoned e-commerce veteran or just starting out, you've come to the right place. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the world of e-commerce together. Welcome back to the show. Today we have a special guest for you. Her name is Michelle Kuzmick. She started her business in 2002 and has transformed where she started from in photography to what she's doing now. And we're going to have this wonderful story about talking with her on the transition and how she made decisions and all the things as entrepreneurs we need to decide on and to really think through as we're going through. And sometimes we feel pretty lonely when they do it. So welcome, Michelle, to our show.
I am so excited to be here and actually talk to you face to face.
Yes, we've been talking online for quite a while now and finally get to talk face to face for once. So tell us a little bit more about you, Michelle. Just, kind of a little synopsis about who Michelle is.
So I am a serial entrepreneur, and I love it. And so anytime an idea comes across my desk or across my brain, I'm like, oh, I can do that. And then I'm off on like a whole tangent. But I started my business back in 2000 well, it was 2000 I started, but in 2001, I was pregnant with my daughter and I knew I didn't want to go back to the corporate world. And so I was like, I had been doing photography. I started the business technically. I mean, it was fun and it was a little bit extra money, but I didn't really consider it a business. So I started it so that I could stay at home with my daughter until she went to kindergarten. And by the time she started kindergarten, then she had two brothers. So then it was until they got out of kindergarten. And now my baby, the third, is graduating high school, and I never went back. So all of my ideas and businesses have really and even the recent swap has been based around what was going on in my kids' lives.
That makes total sense. I know that I was kind of similar. I started our business in 2002 and I had a 9-month-old and I just never really wanted to work out in the corporate world because I had done it some as a graduate, as an undergrad in college, and it just wasn't the right fit for me. So I totally can relate.
Yeah, it's when I look back, I always like going through high school and stuff, I always wanted to be boss. But back then, and I'm showing my age because I graduated in 90, but people didn't just go out and start businesses. So I figured I would be boss of someone's company, but it never occurred to me it would be my own. And here I am. So
Very interesting. So I know you initially started out with photography, and we were talking before the interview that you're transitioning out of that. So what was your first initial dream behind the photography business, and how have you evolved that over the past 25 years?
So I never had a dream really to run a photography business. It was really a need. There was no big plan whatsoever. Like I said, I was doing it a little bit before I got pregnant with my daughter, and just for fun. And I think I charged like $300 for a wedding one time, and they felt so bad all the work that I did. They gave me a tip. But so my dream, my only dream when I first started out was I wanted to make enough money to contribute to the bills until my daughter went to school, that that I could stay at home with her. Because to me, it didn't make sense to go back to my corporate job if I was going to be dropping half of my paycheck a week on daycare. So really, it was a little bitty dream, to just make, and I mean, probably back then it was probably like $200 or $300 a week was what I was, because I was married at the time, and that was really what I needed: diapers, formula, basic stuff. So it wasn't this huge plan at all in the least. So, um, and when I first started, I was a wedding photographer, and still shooting weddings some because I get referrals because I've been doing it so long. The goal with that was their dad was home on the weekends from work, so then I would shoot weddings on the weekends. So it was just kind of a win-win. And when they all got out of middle school, or went to middle school, when the baby ended up in middle school, they didn't need me there to be room mom, or to make cookies or have lunch with them anymore. So I started shifting to where I did more portrait photography on the weekdays. And then I got into corporate and branding photography, because I could do that all during the week because I was tired of working weekends. So again, I never had this huge plan. I just evolved based on where my kids were in their lives.
Well, and it sounds like you also just went along with your intuition and what felt right for the time, which I think is a good lesson to a lot of business owners,
Yeah.
because sometimes we fight our intuition and fight where life is leading us, and sometimes that's
Mhm.
where we're really supposed to go. So I love how you just let life lead you where to go when it comes to your business aspects.
Yeah, and again, so many people try to figure it out before they start. And there is, of course, I teach dream it, brand it, build it. So there is a theory behind that. But really it is, what do you want your life to look like? If you want to be a real estate agent and you don't want to work on weekends, fine, but that means you're probably going to be working with retirees so that you can show them houses during the week. You're not going to be working with first time home buyers with babies. So it's really find something you like to do, find a way to make money at it, and just fit it into your life. It doesn't have to be this earth shattering, plan. And if it doesn't work, you just pivot. So,
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. They think it's got to be an earth-shattering plan. And for our
mhm.
business too, I accidentally built it. Like when I was had a 9 month old, I did not intend to build the business that I have today. And so I love how you can help make that relatable to others, because a
Mhm.
lot of people think it's got to be like, a strict business plan and, this earth-shattering thing that is going to work. And you just sometimes just got to jump in and try it.
Yeah, and just do it. And if it doesn't work, don't. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's yeah. When I so in 2014, my kid's dad and we separated. So I can't say I was a single mom because he was very hands on, but I was a single person. The kids stayed with me. And really, I just needed grocery money. And and of course, going through a divorce, and everything suffers. So it was like my business that was once six figures with ease was, we were at welfare level. you know and so it's like, and people had always asked me to shoot real estate, and I did not want to shoot real estate because I was a people person. And it just shooting pictures of houses, I had no desire to do that whatsoever. But so one day somebody asked me right after that happened, I said, well, how much do you make doing that? And, they told me the average. And I was like, so if I shoot one house, I can buy groceries. I can do that for a little while. And then 3 years later, I was one of the top real estate photographers in the area because it worked better with my life than what I was doing. And it was just so simple. And there wasn't like what I do, what we both do now. We help manage businesses and stuff. Where I was emotionally at that time, I couldn't run my own business, much less try to give someone else direction. And the real estate photography was cool. I get in the car, I take pictures of houses, I come home, I edit it. I don't even have to think about it. So, it was really adapt and it worked. And that's one of the few things I'm still shooting now is real estate. So,
Hmm. I love how you pivoted there based upon your life situation because I think that's so smart. And sometimes people resist doing that. So,
mhm.
again, we're coming back to like really listening to what your life's bringing you. And now I know you've built multiple brands across the years and you
I
love to
have.
talk about branding, right? So, how do you approach the branding process for yourself and for your clients?
So, well, the first thing that I do with branding is color. And I say that because I do a lot of website and brand audits, and colors are based on feelings. And every color is going to give someone a feeling. And for an example, I did an edit of an agricultural website not too long ago, and it was purple. And I just kind of looked at it, and nothing about that website said purple to me. I mean, it was a pretty purple, but so it was kind of like, you have to decorate your business like you decorate your home. And the second part of that branding is for all the logos and everything that you'll build, especially if you're in business for yourself, you are your brand. And so everything that you do should, be in alignment with what you represent as a person. And I'll give you an example. So it wasn't, well, gosh, it was during COVID, and I had right before when COVID hit, I had a couple. I was supposed to shoot their wedding, and it happened like the weekend everything shut down, right? And so they had already paid their deposit. They had paid a lot of money, actually, more than deposit. It was pretty paid in full. And my contract and everything was solid. Hey, you can reschedule. You got 12 months, whatever. And I didn't have to give them a refund. And they decided to elope. And I said, you know what? I'll come. I'll still take pictures. I'll make sure you get the pictures of the family because it was going to be like a backyard wedding. And she was like, no, 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 no. We just want to cancel. And I didn't give her money back. And for a long time, that really did not set well with me. But during COVID, my business was at that time, I was more people than it is, in person. And I didn't have any idea what I was going to have coming in. So I stood by my contract. And she was fine. She didn't flip out, send me any nasty emails, sue me or anything like that. But it was about 8 months later, and I sent her an email and I said, hey, can I get your home address? And she said, yeah. And I said, I've thought about you a lot and I really want to send you your money back. And so it was 8 months later, I sent her money back. And it was probably about 6 months after that, the real estate agent listing her house called me to shoot it. And I mean, but it was so much, it really wasn't about the money. It was more about me being in line with who I was. And I just think that when you run your business, when you're your brand and you base it on your ethics and what's important to you, it all just kind of comes together.
That makes a lot of sense. And
Mhm.
I love how, even though at first you didn't think you should give her the money
Mhm.
back, you still set on it and you were okay and honestly brave enough. Some people wouldn't be brave enough to reach out and give that refund 8 months later. So I love how you're incorporating you into your
Mhm.
brand and really making sure you stick to who's true to you there.
One of the things recently, and what I ask a lot of my clients, and after they've worked with me for a while, anything that I create, I always say, how does this feel? And I don't know, it's probably a couple months back. Somebody has this It's like a quiz. And when you take the quiz, it gives you your brand personality. Then they look at it on you, they look at your website, do a website audit, and tweak it based on what your website personality should be. And mine was magician. Okay. And I can feel that because I am the person that's like, if you need something done, we're going to pull a rabbit out of the hat and get it done. And one of her suggestions was, I want to see some dark, mystic, magical stuff on your website. And my website, my brand is pink. And I took it, I took her information, I appreciated it, and I sat with it. And I just was like, no part of me is dark and mystery. I am out there. Yes. Like there's no mystery behind me whatsoever. You're going to hear more than you ever need to know. And I kept it the way it was, despite her opinion, and it was fine. But it was. I wouldn't have been happy if I would have made that change because it didn't feel good to me to make that alignment. So.
I think, yeah. And I think that's great because I feel like, especially, I feel like even now more than before, feel so rushed to make those decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you allowed yourself to sit with the question of whether you
Mm-hmm.
should change it to be like that. And so I think, anybody listening, really, really let this sink in,
Mm-hmm.
let your decision sit and sink for a bit so you can make
Mm-hmm.
sure that you are making the decision that's aligned with you and your brand
Mm-hmm.
and who you really are. Because I think that's a really great example. Because I know that I've been sometimes swayed to not sit with the decision long enough to feel it was not the right decision. I've had to look back and go, oh, that wasn't quite the right decision, and I realize it now. And now I'm going to change and get back to what's right and aligned for me. But yeah, giving yourself permission to do that, I think, is great.
I think that, and I don't know who said it, but somewhere along my journey, someone said, if it's not a yes, it's a hell no. And I don't necessarily think that. I think if it's not a yes, it means maybe not now. It doesn't mean you can't do that in 5 months or 5 years or something like that. And we're such a, and I'm guilty of it, we want things now because we can get everything at a push of a button. But I think that's what people, it's like, if it doesn't align with what you're feeling right now, keep doing what you're doing, and then when it comes up, when it's time, you'll feel it and it'll work out.
Yeah, I love that. And then, so let's transition a little bit to more of what you're doing now. And so, for those that aren't familiar with Kajabi, it's a course
Mm-hmm.
creator platform. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that many entrepreneurs struggle with the tech of it and really just systems behind things like that. So, as a Kajabi expert, what are some of the essential pieces that you feel like people need to have to really build a business that runs smoothly?
So, a lead magnet, some way to get an email from someone. That is always first and foremost, number one. And I tell people that, and they used to laugh at me because I would say, if Facebook shut down today, and they're like, ha ha ha, that's never going to happen. I'm like, yeah, and we didn't think the world was going to close down for 18 months either, right? So, like we would have to wear masks to go out of our house. So, it's always about list building. I think mine and your friend Tracy said something one time that said all roads lead to list building. So when I work, especially with a new Kajabi person, my first thing is before we ever talk about a website or anything is we're going to get your lead magnet opt-in page up and get it out so you can start getting emails. And I'll share a funny thing for if anybody's listening. I'm sure your audience all knows what a lead magnet is, but basically it's a way to, you get their information, you give them something for free, and then you can continuously market to them. And when I first started my photography business, and I didn't even know it was a lead magnet because well, one, there was no Google or anything. I shot film. So, and everything I shot had prints. So I would every client that came in, when I submitted their order to the lab, I had a design that I had put on a magnet, and I would put one of their images in the design and create a refrigerator magnet for them. And it had like celebrate life, which was my theme, and my information. And it was about 2 months ago, I got an email from, or a Facebook message from, she's a mom now of 3 kids. It's probably been a good 15 years since I did her senior portraits. And she said, I was at my parents' house today, and she said, this magnet is still on their refrigerator. And there are so many of my clients that tell me that. So it's so important that you give them something that they're going to hold on to. And for me, it was a lead magnet, or not an actual magnet. And then, so that's the big thing, is you want to get their emails.
Well, and what I found interesting as, we're over 20 some years into our business, 22 now,
Mhm.
actually working on 23.
Mhm.
And, I learned about like lead magnets for the first time maybe 4-ish years ago. But then if I
Yes.
look back at my business, I had lead magnets from the beginning. I
Hmm.
had these free software plugins you could put
Yep.
into your shopping cart. Those were my lead magnets. I gathered 16,000 or so like emails from that. So I feel like no matter what type of business you have, there should be and will be a way for you to provide value and then receive the email from them, because as we
Mhm.
all know, Facebook has shut down for one time. What was it, almost a half a day or something? It was quite long. It's shut down a couple times, in the
Mhm.
past 5 years. So
Right.
having your clients, potential clients, information in house is super important. So you're not relying on
Mhm.
another system like Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, and also, when Facebook started, and this is what a lot of new people don't realize, because Facebook, and I know there's a lot of people that would argue with me about this, but it's really a pay to play. If you want a lots of leads, it's not, hey, I'm a photographer, or hey, I can build you a Kajabi website. There's, because you're not going to get links if you're not paying for it. Facebook is going to dump you out of the algorithm, and you're not even like you exist. And back in, when Facebook first started, I could do that because, there was 10,000 people on Facebook. So, of course, my stuff showed up, not that way anymore.
Very true. We're just a little tiny fish in a huge, huge pond right now, as
Mhm.
far as like the content that goes out and who sees it. And it's one thing we talk about a lot on our podcast is when you do grab their attention, grab their email so that you can communicate with them yet again. And so I know, you built several brands and businesses over the years. Are there any like common mistakes that you feel like you could give a little bit of advice to new business owners, or ones that might be transitioning to a new area, maybe a new segment of their business, and what to avoid?
Um, So, and I don't know if this is going to answer your question, but it's a huge mistake that I made, and I wasted a lot of years on it. So throughout my photography career, and I can't, well, actually, it was when my daughter was first born. I was a Mary Kay consultant. Um, love Mary Kay, still do. Phenomenal company. This is my opinion. So I love y'all all, Mary Kay people. But I did very well. I won a car. I was in Queen's Court of Sales, recruiting, all of that good stuff. Went across stage. So I was very successful on the outside. But one of the things in Mary Kay was they want you to invest in inventory when you get started. And I think that can be a very, very positive thing. But for me, it didn't set well with me as a Mary Kay sales director. When I bring someone into the business, it was $100 then. I don't know how much it is now. That I would, I hated talking to them about inventory, and I needed to because but I just was very anti-inventory because if a single mom came to me broke and and it was $100 to join, and now I'm saying, oh, bam, $4,000 to invest in inventory, it just didn't set well. And again, on the outside, everything looked good. Treasure my time and my friends and Mary Kay, but I spent a lot of time working that business that wasn't in alignment with who I am. Um, so I guess instead of what I would say, if you start something and it doesn't feel good, pivot, do something else. I mean, I learned a lot, no regrets, but I could have did a whole lot more in my photography business because I was building both of them at the same time. If I hadn't been so scattered. So that would be my big thing is don't be afraid to say, yes, this is a good opportunity, but it's not for me.
Yeah, I think that's something that we sometimes as adults have a hard time doing because I feel like as kids, we sometimes more understand what is a good fit and
Mhm.
we're not afraid to say no. But as adults, sometimes we're afraid to say no,
Mhm.
even to opportunities that look good. So being able to say no and being able to pivot when you've made a decision that now is not in alignment, I think is really important for business owners to hear.
Yeah, and I'm the type of person, I think you are too, that no matter what you do, you're going to do it very, very well and you're going to be successful at it. But it's about, and I have a magazine because you've contributed to it, and that's what my magazine is about building your life, not your business. Your business should complement your life. And I was so out of alignment and I struggled so much for those years. I mean, it took a lot of joy away, it was but so.
Yeah, and I love that transition actually because I was going to ask you about your magazine and
Mm.
I'd love to hear, the title. I know the title, but I'd love to hear it in your words and what it's all about. And I just love the premise behind it too when we, first met online over
Mhm.
over a year ago and the premise behind it. So can you tell us a little bit more about your magazine you have?
Yeah, so it's She's Making Her Way is the name of it. It's for female entrepreneurs that really want to figure out a way to have a life first business. And I try to give resources and stories, quarterly to help people. But the one thing I'll tell you, and I love all the articles and everything, but for me, when I first started it, I wanted to get the information out, but I wanted to be able, because I was building, websites and sales funnels and stuff for people. And I loved showcasing them in that magazine. And like if you're on my email list, you'll see people will pop up and say, um, oh my, such and such launch this week. I just love supporting other women. Like I've added that to my signature title, a support system for female entrepreneurs. And like when you've contributed a couple times now, I think twice. It's just so great to build those connections beyond a like and things. And it feeds my creativity too. So that was why I started. And I just really want it to be a showcase where I can support other people to grow their business.
Well, and I think it's really important as business owners to have that business family
Hmm.
too, which is, what you're talking about here is
Hmm.
having that business family, the other people who can walk alongside you in the journey of owning your own business, because it's totally different than working for someone else. Um, and you need that support. It's sometimes really lonely.
It can be very lonely. And especially because all of but one of my really good friends, they have a 9 to 5 job. So if they can't even begin to comprehend if I'm struggling with something, like what's going on and things like that, I can understand their struggles because I put my time in corporate America. But being an entrepreneur, especially when you're raising babies and you're trying to build a business while you're building your family, that might be the toughest thing. Like if you can make it through that without a nervous breakdown, I mean, you're in good shape. Yes.
Yes, I can totally relate to that. And that's something I've been telling myself, the past few years, because we've been pivoting our business is,
Mhm.
I started this business with a 9-month-old, and then shortly thereafter, I got pregnant with a second. I was finishing my master's degree,
Mm-hmm.
and I, started this business, and it was making, six figures in a year. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if I could do that then, surely I can pivot now. The
Right.
situation's different, and I have to sometimes be my own cheerleader and say, yes, you can still do this. You can still pivot. You can still, make great new things. And I think as entrepreneurs, sometimes we need to hear that from other business owners that, you know, you may have done really great in the beginning and then things may have changed, situations have changed. You just got to have faith in yourself that you can figure it out and you can do it again.
I'll tell you a story about when I was going through my divorce. Because again, no shame here. I was at welfare level leading into it and, struggling. And I decided it was going to be easier for me to go back to work. It was a little bit challenging because although, I had left corporate America at a very high level, I couldn't just walk back into it 12 years later. And so, I put in all of my applications, got a job offer. I got two job offers. One was for a local real estate agent that just needed me to do his marketing part time. Then one was a full time. I wasn't going to have to worry about money. Right. And they both called on the same day. And I sat there, and the thought of not being able to put my kids on the bus or having to ask somebody for permission to not go to work because one of them was sick or whatever. I physically hurt just thinking of that. And I said, you know what? I built a six-figure business once, and there is no reason why I can't do it again. I turned down corporate America. I worked for the real estate company for about 6 months as their advertising person, and and then it all got better. So, but it was tough. But yeah, you have to trust yourself and you have to believe in yourself, and even if it doesn't feel good, because I remember going to sleep that night thinking, "What have I done?" Yes. So,
Yeah. Sometimes it can be so scary, but
mm,
yeah, in our heart, we know it's the right decision, but
yeah,
logically, it can be so scary.
yeah,
But
and it was, yeah, it was
yeah,
very
but we've
scary.
really got to listen to our gut and our heart
Mhm.
more than sometimes our logical brain when it comes to decisions with businesses. So I love talking to you about all your business journeys over the past 25 years. You got a few more years on me as far as running a business. So I love actually talking. It's kind of rare for me to find another female entrepreneur that's been running a business as long as I have. So it's been a joy to talk to you.
Aw,
So so if people want to find more about your magazine or you, what would be some good ways to find you on the internet?
so I have social media channels, but I don't keep them up because that is not in alignment with who I am. So the best place is really just to go to michellekuzmick.com. The magazine subscription is free. Getting ready to drop a template vault that will help people when they're struggling. It's going to have a bunch of stuff in it, social media and email templates and everything that you might kind of need to get started or grow your business. MichelleKuzmick.com.
Great. And we'll put that in the show notes to her website so that you have it spelled correctly too. And you can always find that at ecommercemadeeasypodcast.com or in your favorite podcast player. So thank you so much, Michelle, for being on our show today. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it too.
Wow, wasn't that an insightful conversation with Michelle Kuzmick? I love how she shared the real and raw side of entrepreneurship, balancing family, navigating pivots, and pushing through the challenges to create a business that aligns with your passion and purpose. I hope you're walking away feeling inspired and equipped with practical tips to help you navigate your own business journey. If you found value in today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss out on future episodes packed with actionable insights and expert advice. And if you're loving the show, I'd be so grateful if you could leave a quick rating and review. It helps more entrepreneurs just like you discover the podcast. And don't forget to check the show notes for ways to connect with Michelle and learn more about her work. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will see you next week.